Hello, this is Chris with Phoenix Gaming. Today we're going to talk about Battleshock. We're going to talk about what it is, how long you stay battle shocked, what happens to units that are battle shocked, how you measure half strength below half strength, how attached and bodyguard units affect starting strength, and then we'll talk about out of sequence battle shocks and extra abilities. Battleshock is just a leadership check. You roll 2 dice, and the target number is your leadership characteristic. If it is greater than or equal to, it is passed. Battleshock tests are normally made in your own command phase, and you do one for each unit that is below half strength. This does mean that every command phase you have to do them for each unit that's below half strength. So there will be times where you have the same unit making multiple Battleshock tests throughout a game simply because they're under half strength but didn't die. I do suggest getting some sort of Battleshock tokens for helping to keep track. I would probably have like a pass or fail side on them or something, just so you know who needs to take it, who's passed, who's failed. Yep. How long you stay Battleshocked for? It's really just until your command phase. Regardless of when the Battleshock test is made, being Battleshocked ends at the beginning of your command phase. So when a unit is below half strength, it will make a Battleshock test in each of its controlling player's command phases. If it passes, it acts normally until the next command phase, it tests again. If it fails, it's Battleshocked, and then the next command phase, it tests again. Keep in mind, you only test in the command phase if you're under half strength or a rule tells you to do so. So if an out of sequence rule Battleshocks you, you don't stay Battleshocked. It falls off in your command phase, and you don't test again if you're over half strength unless another out of sequence thing tells you to do it. So just keep that in mind. When you're battle shocked, your objective control becomes 0, and you must make a desperate escape test when you fall back, and you cannot use stratagems to affect your battle shocked units. And thanks to the designer's commentary, we have a better understanding of modifiers. If you look at page 17, it explains them in detail. You use the change or replace first, then divide, then multiply, then addition, then subtraction. So if your OC is 0 because of Battleshock, you do the change replace first. Then if something would cut it in half, you divide 0 by half, still have 0. Then you multiply, and then you still have 0. But then if it adds 1, you now have 1. There are ways to still control objectives if you're battle shocked if you have things that increase your OC via addition. Just something to keep in mind. Half strength and below half strength is pretty straightforward. A unit that is below half strength is when it has less than half of its starting model. So if you've got 20 orc boys, 9 is below half strength, 10 is half strength. So you make battle shock tests when you have 9 or less boys in your unit if you started with 20. Obviously, if you started with 10, you would make it at 4 or less. A unit of 5 Marines are at half strength when they have 2 models, because 2.5 isn't a model count. And then if they were at 10 to start with, you start making battle shocks at 4. If the unit has a starting strength of 1, like a Land Raider or a Battle Wagon, your starting strength is then based on your wound count. So a Battle Wagon has 16 wounds. It doesn't become below half strength until it has 7 wounds left. Because remember, 8 is half strength, and you battle shock at below half strength. This does mean that characters with lone operative that don't go into units, and then vehicles that are their own separate unit with a single model can be battle shocked. Gilliman could theoretically be battle shocked. Just again, another feature of the game to kind of be aware of. The attaching bodyguard units and starting strength, it's again pretty easy. It's just if you attach a character to a unit, you actually add the character's model count to the unit to get your new starting strength. So if you put a war boss into that same 20-man unit of boys, you now have a starting strength of 21. 20 boys plus 1 war boss is 21. And then you are now under half strength at 10, because 11 divided by 2 is 10.5, so 10 would be under half strength. If the character or the bodyguard unit is destroyed, the remaining unit reverts back to its normal process for determining battle shock. So if the war boss is killed from precision wounds, and only the boys are left, then you actually just have a 20 model squad of boys, and then you're below half strength at 9. If the boys are killed, then the war boss just reverts to wound count to determine his starting strength. When you look at out of sequence battle shocks and special rules, there's a few things to keep in mind. We will have some examples in just a second. If a rule tells you to make a battle shock test, you must make it, even if you're already battle shocked. And that's because the out of sequence battle shock test could trigger special rules. Now, if you fail the out of sequence test, if you weren't battle shocked, you become battle shocked. If you were battle shocked, you stay battle shocked. It doesn't extend the duration or anything like that. It's really just you roll the test. If you fail it, you're battle shocked regardless. And then any special rules that trigger on failing it are also triggered. If you pass the out of sequence battle shock, you are not battle shocked from this test specifically, and any rules that would trigger from failing it are not triggered. But keep in mind, if you were already battle shocked, even though you pass this test, you don't become not battle shocked. So basically, if you were already battle shocked, you just stay battle shocked regardless of whether or not you pass the out of sequence test. The out of sequence test at that point just becomes, do you trigger special rules? Now, if you were not battle shocked and you failed it, then you become battle shocked. Hopefully, I said this in a clear enough way for you to understand it. If not, drop your question in the comments and I'll address it as soon as I can. Remember that battle shock will always end in your own command phase unless a rule specifically states otherwise, regardless of how many tests are failed or when it's triggered. Let's take a look at a few examples of out-of-sequence battle shock tests. Let's start with the Big Mech's Deranged Snotling Assault. In your shooting phase, after this model has shot, select one enemy unit hit by one or more of those attacks. It must take a battle shock test. If I shoot you with my Big Mech, I pick your unit that I hit, and I'm like, hey, take a battle shock test. If you fail it, you're battle shocked. You stay battle shocked until your command phase. What that's going to do is that's going to prevent you from being able to use any stratagems on that unit. So maybe I can keep you from trying to overwatch me by forcing you to fail a battle shock test kind of interaction. And then below that, we have the Def Dread's Piston-Driven Brutality. At the start of the fight phase, each enemy unit within engagement range must take a battle shock test. So that one has a little bit different implications because it's forcing battle shock tests in every fight phase, not just my fight phase. So that could theoretically shut off your OC before my command phase so that I could control an objective you would otherwise control. It also prevents, again, your stratagem use. So these are things to keep in mind. You will test for it in your command phase. And then if you look to the right, we actually have a Chaos Knight's stratagem. It is triggered anytime a battle shock test is failed. So this would be a special rule that is triggered by battle shock tests. If it's failed in any phase, you get to roll 6 dice, and then for each 4+, that enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound, and then this model regains up to 1 lost wound. So this would again be one of those things where you have to fail it in order to trigger it, but once you fail it, it can trigger and then resolve. If you pass it, this cannot trigger and it can't resolve. I hope that really breaks down the battle shock sequence and how it works. Again, if you have questions or you feel like you need something clarified, make a comment. I will do my best. And if there's a video you'd like to see, make sure you let me know so I can make what you guys need in order to make the game a little bit easier for you. Big shout out to my patrons, Captain Too Tall, The Real Donnie G, and Lord Wellingstone. Thank you guys. Your support has been amazing. And then links on the screen and in the description. Also, big shout out. I am doing a giveaway. That link will be in the description. You guys have a great day, and I will be streaming Thursday. It'll be Tyranids versus Orcs, and then we'll do some sort of stream either later today or Friday.